Are you still trying to get out of art block? Here are some other ideas and how we can deal with it. Hey guys, it's City Pintua, and today I'd like to revisit the topic of the art block, how to deal with it and how to get through with it. I made a video like this in the past and I'll link it down below, but in that video I talked about some strategies that you could use, like write anything, do drawing studies, find a new skill or hobby, draw things that are fun to you, being in a comfort zone, join an online community where you guys can talk about this stuff, and overall just let the art block happen. Just take a break to figure out some stuff in your own personal life. Many people have their own ways in how they deal with their own art block. Ever since I've made that video and ever since I've come across multiple art blocks in my life, I've also found some new strategies, and I've also talked with other people and how they deal with their own art blocks. So in this video, I'd like to talk about those new findings. But before we get to that, we have to talk about what an art block is. And if I were to describe it, it's sort of like you've hit a plateau in your art growth and art journey. You either feel stuck, feel aimless, or feel uninspired. And overall, it kills the motivation to keep producing new art or to make art that you're happy with. There's a lot of things that can cause art block. One of them being you doubt yourself in all your decisions. You start comparing yourself to other artists, other people, or maybe you even get bored with your overall process and just feel uninspired. Surprisingly, even tremendous amount of freedom, security, and time can cause art block. There's this thing called the paradox of choice, and I'll talk about that in the future. But for now, I just want to talk about some other ways that you can deal with art block and what you can do to push yourself to get out of it. So the first advice I have when someone is in an art block is just to be an idiot and allow yourself to be an idiot. I think part of having an art block is when you set a certain standard for yourself, and that if you can't hit that standard, you're not doing anything right. But when I reflect on some of the work and art that I did in the past, whether it's animation, whether it's a drawing, and the ones I ended up really liking are the ones that I felt like there was the least pressure. I was just goofing off. A lot of those discoveries were accidental. But at the end of the day, you must give yourself space to not take yourself seriously. Like, make something that's just fun and stupid, make a funny gag or a comic, or a joke that you just want to express. At CalArts, we had our thesis films every year, so we made a film, and that would get shown to recruiters from major studios. So sometimes we feel like we're making films to hit a certain standard, to get us a job or an opportunity. But at CalArts, we also had the 48-hour film festival, where we're put in a 48-hour lockdown to make a film within the weekend based on a theme. You don't really have time to overthink or overplan. You just have to keep going. And a lot of those lead to really stupid decision making, experimental stuff, and just people goofing off. And you need that environment to find joy in whatever you do. A moment where you guys can be goofballs. And you know what? Even in that time, you might make something that is priceless, that is worth revisiting, that is a lot of fun, and something that helps you grow. And maybe that could be a catalyst of a new part of yourself to explore. And when you lower your standards, when you allow yourself to be an idiot, it allows you to be more experimental. It allows you to be a bit more fearless. Don't worry about structure, don't worry about getting it right. If you see something in your head that's interesting or funny or dumb, but you just want to get it out there, do it. Another thing that I would recommend you guys to do is to bring a sketchbook to wherever you go. Now for me, the sketchbook has been really good on my mental health because I have a problem staying present in the moment. So being able to draw everything around me and just sketch things is a great way to stay grounded. But it's also a great way to take in things from life, inspiration and things like that. Now, there is such thing as a sketchbook art block where people just don't want to add more drawings to their sketchbook because they want the sketchbook to be perfect or to be good. But a sketchbook is meant to be a mess. It's just all sorts of things. The thing I said about being an idiot, well, it also applies to a sketchbook because there are pages in my sketchbook where it's just silly, it's just jokes. It's just things that I find funny or interesting and I will just put it down. And sometimes when I'm drawing in a sketchbook, I get into a flow state where I just feel like I want to keep drawing more. I want to keep putting stuff in my sketchbook. I want to explore thought. I usually bring a sketchbook and a journal with me, one for writing and one for just drawing. And it's a great break from my work environment, and sometimes my work environment can cause that art block. The other one that I want to mention is to explore different subject matter, especially when it comes to art. You know, as artists, there's a lot of parts within ourselves that need to be explored, that need to be expressed. So if I'm talking about an animation point of view, most of my work consists of family feature films for animation, but I've also delved into adult animation. I personally do not like being typecasted, and I feel like I burn out even faster when I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So I think it's good to explore different parts of yourself, whether it's exploring different genres, different art styles, or even just different subjects. There are times where my art is super friendly and super approachable, but there are times where I can get really dark with my subject matter, to the point where it can alienate my followers. But you know what? There's a part of me that needs that creative craving fulfilled. Now, some of you guys might want to be more silly or more raunchy or even more not safe for work. I think the biggest factor here is, what if you just tried making art for yourself? If you're just trying to please yourself, no pun intended, or you're making art that's just not meant to be uploaded to the public space. Now, the next one I want to talk about is quite debatable and controversial. It's all related to artistic growth, identity, and exploring different parts of yourself. But I have a few friends that adopt an alter ego, a pen name where they play an entirely different character. They become a different persona. And that also includes the type of art that they make. Because yeah, sometimes maybe you want to make art that you want to show to people, even if it's not your range of brand or whatever you want to put out publicly under your name. So some artists would use a pen name, an alias, and make art that will allow themselves to explore different parts of themselves publicly. Because sometimes art isn't just all about the stuff that you make, it's also you as a person. Many professional artists use a separate alias or pen name for many reasons. One of them being because of contracts or guild rules or that type of stuff where they're not supposed to be making different art for different clients. But some people use it so they can separate brands. So, you know, one account is for like fan art and things like that, and the other one is for original content or even niche stuff. But even with that, I would highly encourage going to counseling or therapy, just so that if you do decide to get into this stuff, you're aware of those decisions, you're at ease, and it's all grounded. But I think having a separate account or a separate alter ego might be a good thing to explore if you want to give yourself that space to explore different subject matter and to keep it separate from your main social media or your main account or your overall image. Whatever you decide to do is none of my business. All I will say is stay sane, stay legal, and be safe out there. Wow, even though I'm being quite honest here, that was super weird to talk about. The important thing about having an art block or being an artist is that you must have a life outside of just art. So have a good community, have some friends, have a hobby outside of your line of work. Because that kind of stuff is a good breather, it's a good refresher, and it'll also give you a bit of perspective of what's important in your life. Or that there's more things out there than art or your career or whatever. And an important thing here is when an art block happens, when you've hit that plateau, write it out. Maybe the best option isn't to try and fight it to be productive, and maybe it is a good time to just accept that downtime, maybe take a break and figure out other things in your life. Because the truth is, an art block will always happen. Some people stay in an art block for a very long time, and some people, an art block is a very short moment in time. But when you have other things or aspects in your life that are a bit more grounded, it makes it much easier to navigate through it. The thing I also want to repeat more is, if you were just making art for yourself and only for yourself, what would you do? I'm pretty sure it'll lead to more experimentation, which will birth new ideas, techniques, mindset, and approaches. Anyways, that's all I want to talk about. Bye. Interested in learning hand-drawn animation or learning how to finish an animated shot from beginning to end? Have a look at the store where you'll find the complete Introduction to 2D Animation video course, tutorials, and other resources. Learn classical animation approaches, drawing, lectures, techniques, and other process videos. Visit the store through the link in the description below.